Hey, welcome everyone. So glad you're here. September 18th. My goodness. There's so much we could talk about today, but I have a topic that I think is pretty damn interesting, and it's just about incentives and the grand conspiracy. So we'll get to that. Just as a reminder, we're on the road to 420, 420 followers, subscribers on Rumble. So if you're on Rumble, rumble.com/coffeenuance/live, get on over there and subscribe if you're not already. We're live right now on X, on YouTube, and on Rumble. My name's Tom Coffey. We're that on all the socials, but today we are talking about institutional incentives. That's right. Institutional incentives. Look at that. We got the gears of the machine. We're talking about gears of the machine, and what the hell? We don't need an audience today. We're just going to talk about it. So let's get to it. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah. People love to talk about grand conspiracies these days, and hey, maybe there is one. I'm not here to say there's not a shadowy group pulling the strings, but honestly, a conspiracy isn't even necessary when the incentives line up just right. Take journalism. People ask, why don't reporters question the corporate war machine more? Well, I don't know, maybe because they like things like healthcare and not living in their parents' basement. You don't need a secret memo from the CIA telling you to toe the line. Because if you start digging too deep into those military contracts and asking, hey, why do we have bases across the globe? Guess what? You're hosting a podcast watched by a dozen people. It's like this unspoken rule. You can report the news, just don't be too real about it. It's not that they can't cover it, but the guy who does gets to spend his time writing think pieces for some blog nobody reads. Not because someone's out to get him. It's because he made the wrong people uncomfortable. In a world of incentives, making the powerful sweat is bad for business. It's not just the media. Look at climate science, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for saving the planet. But if you're a climate scientist, what do you think is going to get more funding? A paper titled, "We've got time, there's no need to panic," or one titled, "Code Red, Earth is literally on fire, send money." You don't need a backroom deal to get everyone on the same page. Just promise a grant to the person who says the end is nigh. Scientists don't need to be told to hype it up. Everyone knows that playing it cool doesn't land you speaking gigs or research dollars. If you're not predicting doomsday, well, enjoy your years of quiet obscurity. And then there's the fact checkers. Oh, these guys are the best. Fact checking in 2024 is like refereeing a game where the refs are sponsored by the home team. You ever notice that the facts always seem to align with the people writing the checks? You think a fact checker at Facebook is going to call out their biggest advertiser? This claim is baseless. It really means this claim is inconvenient for the people paying me. It's not a vast conspiracy. You don't need some mastermind puppeteering it all from above. The incentives do the work. Fact checkers understand what needs to be dismissed as debunked without being told. Same goes for journalists picking stories. Why are we hearing about the 12th reboot of some old sitcom when important stories are out there, buried under a pile of TikTok trends? It's because the real news doesn't bring the clicks. You don't need a secret order from a media CEO to understand that a deep dive on the Federal Reserve isn't going viral. Give them bread and circuses, they say. Only now it's bread and 15-second video clips. And in Congress, you ever wonder why nothing changes no matter who's in power? Because the incentive is to stay in power. Fixing problems don't get you reelected. Talking about fixing problems does. Look at how many politicians are still writing the same promises they made in the 90s. They're stuck in a time loop. The only thing that's changed is their hairline. Now, no secret conspiracy is needed. The incentives for inaction are just stronger than the ones for doing anything. You stay in office by fundraising, not by passing sweeping legislation. Real change is risky. Talking about change, that's where the money's at. You see, the system doesn't need to be controlled by some nefarious cabal, even if it is. People don't need to be told what to do. They just follow the incentives, whether it's journalists, scientists, politicians, fact checkers. Everyone's just playing the game. When the game is rigged, you don't have to be in on the conspiracy to know how to win. Because in America, the only thing more powerful than a conspiracy is a really good paycheck. And honestly, in a country where reality TV stars are running for president and fact checkers have the integrity of a used car salesman, I think it's safe to say we've officially hit the stage where the biggest conspiracy of all is that anyone's still calling us a democracy. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee Nuance Show, the least watched censored commentary and news show live. Right now, flame on. That's right. We're talking about institutional incentives. I brought back the flame. I don't know if you can see it here beneath the Chiron. Institutional incentives. So these are rewards and consequences within organizations or systems that shape behavior to, I guess, control individuals, to nudge them the way they should go, right? Now, these incentives, usually they're not spelled out. You don't join a company and have this spelled out for you implicitly, right? Or explicitly. Can't even remember my prefixes right now. But these incentives, they guide the way that people act to benefit the institution, right? So people, individuals, they align with actions for what's rewarded, like career advancement, financial gain, staying employed, right? So one thing that we need to think about is how do we identify these incentives, okay? Because it seems like most people just are blind to this. It's really bizarre. But, the first question is who benefits, right? Cui bono, right? Follow the money or the power, right? What actions are rewarded? What actions get you a raise? What gets you promotion? What gets you funding? And which ones are discouraged? What do you have to do to get fired, to be marginalized, right? To have your office moved into the basement, okay? We can all figure this out. It doesn't have to be stated in a memo that you get from HR, right? The other thing that you can do is you can pay attention to patterns. Be a pattern recognizer. They try to dissuade you from that. You noticing patterns? Oh, you might be, they tell you to not notice patterns. But if you notice patterns, you can see what behavior is repeated across the people that are getting ahead and the people that are falling behind, right? In every institution, it's the same. Incentives can explain most of this. It's not a conspiracy. So the behavior that drives most people are incentives. You also look at the risk. Consider what happens if someone goes against the system, whatever the system is. If you go against the system, what do you stand to lose? Well, I don't know. For example, on this system, you might have your channel essentially disappear. If you make videos that don't align with what the platform wants, good luck finding them. Good luck even finding videos with a search. You might even be hidden from search. That's an incentive. You want your channel to grow? Well, you need to play ball, right? And if you don't play ball, well, then your channel is hidden. And you get, I don't know, a dozen people watching you live, right? I mean, those are the consequences. When you question certain norms, there are always consequences. And this is a strong indicator of the institutional incentives at play, right? Also, look at examining the priorities. What outcomes does an institution prioritize? For example, a media outlet If they prioritize engagement over depth, well, then what's going to be the consequence of that? You're gonna put up a quiz about your soulmate or something like that. It's not going to. You want engagement. You want people to click. Probably gonna have a lot of horoscope stuff. Get people to click on that. Lots of can you believe Shakira wore this? Well, that's gonna get you some clicks, right? So just look at what the institution prioritizes. Okay, universities, for example, if their focus is on funding, right, they're going to want you to be doing work to get funding. If you're doing research that might be totally necessary and totally important and could save mankind, but it's not going to get funding, right? That's how we have to look at the incentives. Okay, so that's this kind of big idea that I wanted to talk about today, which is there's incentives. And incentives explain just about everything. We don't need some grand conspiracy. Now, is there a grand conspiracy? Probably, right? Probably. But we don't even need to bother with the grand conspiracy when we can look at the incentives. That explains most of human behavior. And if you want to think about it, right, economics is essentially understanding incentives. I mean, this is mostly in a financial sense. So it always strikes me as interesting, those people that push aside economics and the study of economics, because the study of economics is the study of human behavior. It's the study of incentives. So if you really want to understand how the world works, incentives are the way to do it. That's the big idea for today on this Big Idea Wednesday. That's the main thing I wanted to hit. Yeah, short and sweet video today. But I will be going through all of your comments in the after show. And mainly because I looked at all of the news that's happening right now. And it's so bizarre. It's so out there. It's so unbelievable. I think that if I even cover the news that's happening around some of the politics, it sounds crazy. It just sounds crazy. If you're not on board already, it just sounds crazy. So I said, you know what? Let me talk about something else today. I just want to talk about incentives. Do you have any feedback on this idea of institutional incentives? Let me know in the comments, and I'll go through all of your feedback right now in the after show. I will be back on Friday with something truly awesome. I promise. Until then, peace. Here we are. So not a whole lot of comments today, not a whole lot of live viewers, but that's okay. What are you gonna do, right? Let's go. Despater. I like that. That's a good name. What's up, Despater? Uncle She. Nice to see you, Doug. Gonzo the Good. Notice patterns. That's racist. Yeah, we see that a lot. If you notice patterns, well, there's a problem with that. That's what I was going to say, and I just kind of stopped myself from saying it because you use certain words, they hide your videos, right? But it is what it is. So what's up, Doug? What's up, Bastille? Nice to see you today. Yeah, so that's all of the feedback that we got. Well, that's not a whole lot of live feedback today, but that's okay. That's okay. You like the little animation? I made that with AI. Kind of the gears of the machine. How incentives really are the gears of the machine. It is a way to kind of understand how things work. And it's definitely worked with video platforms such as YouTube. You know, if you talk about certain things, you kind of fall down and you don't get your video suggested to many people. In fact, I can see how many people, I can go through and I can look at the analytics of my videos, and I can see that nearly every single person that watches my video is not a subscriber. I'm sorry, is a subscriber. People that are not subscribed to me, they don't see any of my stuff. And so it makes it very hard to grow. In fact, the trend for I think I have less subscribers now than I did 4 years ago. And I think my content's a little better. But anyway, that's incentives in play. At least for this, but also I'm sure in your work, there's incentives. And I think incentives explain just about everything. And they're more useful to understand than trying to play this whole thing off as some grand conspiracy. Okay, just look at the incentives. Yeah. I'm glad you made it here before the end too, Doc. Incentives make sense. It influences behavior. Yeah, it really does. And so often we get things dismissed when it's pretty clear to me that when you encourage things, you'll see more of it. And if you discourage things, you'll see less of it. Right? So if you have a system set up that, I don't know, might encourage certain behaviors and discourage other behaviors, that's what you'll get. So if you have a system that's set up that, say, doesn't discourage crime, right? If you say we're gonna stop arresting people for small crime, well, then the incentive is to have more of it, and guess what? You will have more of it. Yeah. I'm pleased to hear that at least one side says that they're going to go after hardcore anyone that's involved in any voter fraud in this next election. So hopefully the threat of that, there will be less voter fraud. Of course, we know there's absolutely zero in this country ever. And that's very convenient. Right? We've got all these institutions, but the one institution that never has a problem is voting. I think that's quite a nice coincidence. Anyway, hey, thanks, Doc. I appreciate you sharing my videos. It means a lot to me. On Friday, I will try to come up with a good, exciting video, something good to think about. And if you're not subscribed on Rumble, so if you're only on YouTube, go over to Rumble and follow me there. We're on the road to 420, so I hope to make it there soon. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Here we go. See? Road to 420. Let's get there. Anyway, hope you all have an awesome week. I'll be back on Friday. Until then, peace.